In today's strategy combat video, you can see an attack on a fully developed base. At the beginning, it had 30 flags level 5, but in the chat you can still see the start command. It was given at 5:46 AM by Bourbon. I came online a little later. In the meantime, the number of flags is already reduced considerably. At the moment, we see mainly M1 tanks from 1932 in front of the base. They only have 75 attack strength, and even in groups of 27, they don't impress such a well-developed base at all. These cheap-to-produce tanks are pure cannon fodder. Each salvo of the Flaks destroys one of these tanks, which, with its 50 armor, can't counteract this with anything. But the most important thing is that due to the mechanics of the game, each salvo of the Flak destroys only one target. So it takes 27 salvos of the Flaks to destroy one group. Nevertheless, it takes many groups, and it is a logistical problem to have enough units in front of the base without interruption. Every interruption could allow the attacked player to rebuild flags faster. This would make the fight unsuccessful. Avoiding interruptions is therefore a crucial success factor. The only thing that these many groups do not do is damage to the flag. The attack power comes from the howitzers stationed at a distance. There, too, it is primarily a logistical challenge. It takes many groups of MP4 to keep the howitzers firing without interruption. Any interruption would mean losing cannon fodder in front of the base without doing any real damage to the base during this time. In our case, 7 mortars Karl are firing on the base right now. Each of these 7 Karls needs 1 projectile every 15 seconds, so 4 times 7 is 28 per minute. That means every 2 minutes a group of MP4 is empty. Such battles usually last more than 30 minutes. This means that 7 Karls need more than 15 groups of MP4 for ammunition. With 3 Karls, the fight would take 20 minutes longer, but it would require less than 12 groups of MP4. Longer combat times increase the risk of being disturbed by the enemy and may require more cannon fodder. When the number of flags is reduced to about a dozen, heavy tanks are used. The T-28 have only 2,000 firepower against the base. That is ridiculously little compared to the 4.5 million firepower of a mortar Karl. Even tripling the rate of fire doesn't really change that much. Even the task of these heavy tanks is just to pocket the fire of the flag. Damage is still done almost exclusively by the mortars Karl. Now, such a T-28 tank costs 39 million steel and 29 million aluminium. It's so expensive that you wouldn't want to lose it as cannon fodder. So, when such a tank is 80% damaged, it is taken out of the combat and repaired on the next crane. That takes about 40 minutes. That's why about 20 such heavy tanks are used one after another in this attack. You can see that M1 tanks are still attacking. This is against the concept and only increases the number of casualties. If the T-28s can take the fire, and if we have enough T-28s as attackers, then it is a waste to continue to sacrifice these M1 tanks. It is better to save them for the next battle. An inexpensive alternative to the T-28 is the Centurion. It can be produced with the resources of normal production, but this takes 1 hour. You also need 5 Centurion for the use of a single T-28. So you quickly reach the limit of possible groups. Nevertheless, the Centurion is worth mentioning as the free-to-play alternative to the extremely expensive T-28. With the low price, the loss is not tragic. The attack power of a Centurion against a base is also only 7,000 every 5 seconds. My 6 Centurion, which were only added in the second half of the fight, did enough damage to the base to fulfill the daily quest. At this stage of the battle, Wasp could speed up the process considerably. Groups of 7 Wasps, each dealing 22,000 damage to the base every 5 seconds, are far more effective than the M1 groups that can be seen, which no longer belong there at this point. The battle drags on. Actually, we had already almost completely conquered this map. Unfortunately, the 2 biggest players of our alliance then defected to 2 opposing alliances. When they were still with us, we were happy that they were able to expand every single base to the maximum and make it almost impregnable. Now it's making our lives difficult, but we are making progress every day. After 36 minutes, it is finally done and the base is taken. 1 hour later, at least several ammunition transporters are full again, the cannon fodder is reproduced and the T-28 is repaired on the crane. Every attack on such a well-developed base requires the perfect interaction of an entire alliance and is completely impossible for single players. The next base is then 45 minutes later also ours, this time with a little less cars to save ammunition.